Hi, good evening, guys. All right. So we'll start with a very quick recap about the stuff which we covered yesterday. So yesterday was the first session of Tableau, where we spoke about the tool. We spoke about its uses. Where does it fit in the analytics space? Hey, Isha. Then we spoke about the different types of Tableau offerings, the product suite of Tableau, and then we went through an installation guide where we saw how do you install Tableau Public. Then we looked at different kinds of data connections which are possible in Tableau, meaning let's say you want to connect it to an Excel file, a CSV file, or maybe to a server. Like I pointed out yesterday, in Tableau Public, the server connectivity is pretty limited. So we'll restrict ourselves to connecting to Excel and CSV files throughout. Then we had a very quick tool walkthrough. So this is how the tool would look like. We imported a data set, which was the sample superstore data. And then once we had that in, this is how the interface looked like. We walked through each of the elements, the menu bar, toolbar, data pane, and the shelves on the screen. Then we looked at very basic visualization techniques in Tableau, the bar chart, line chart, and pie chart. And we looked at the Show Me tab, and wherein we have 24 different visualizations available to us in Tableau. And then we had a very quick session about some data preparation steps in Tableau. All right, so that's where we were yesterday. There was one thing which we got stuck yesterday because I forgot my Tableau password, so which is saving the workbook. So we'll do that today. Unfortunately, yesterday's work I couldn't save. So what I'll do is I'll start with a fresh workbook today. For you guys, if you have started working on Tableau, then I can suggest, my suggestion would be to continue using the same and just keep on adding sheets here, worksheets here, and then it's easier for you to just have everything in the same workbook. Okay. Any doubts or comments or anything which was unclear from yesterday's session? Okay, thanks, Isha. In case for any of you anything was unclear, make a note of it. Maybe you can reach out to me at the end of the class and I can take it up. Okay, great. So I am still connected to the orders sheet in the sample superstore data. Uh, Yesterday we looked at a line chart. There was one more type of line chart. There was a customization of line chart which I wanted to show you guys. So I'll just show that today. The line chart I believe which we had was, we had the month specification of the order date, and then we had the sales sitting here. So this was how the line chart was looking like. Now, I want to break this up by, let's say, the different values of the field category. So one way to do that is, so basically what I want is, I want a separate chart for each value of category. So I will take category and I will drop it here. What did I do? This was my original chart where the overall data, the overall sample superstore data was getting plotted. The sales, the sum of sales was getting plotted against the order date. Now I want to break it up by the category field. So I will click on category from my dimensions, drag it to rows and drop it here. Now, as soon as I do this, what happens is the entire, now it's no more an overall trend of sales data for each order date. It has been broken up by each category field. So when category takes the value furniture, this is the trend of sales over the order date period. When it takes the value office supplies, this is the trend. And when it takes the value technology, this is the trend. Think of it like three separate charts, but placed one on top of each other, so it's easier for you to look at. Okay. Right. So having cleared this, I'll go back to the slide. There was one topic from the day one deck which I wanted to cover today, which is data extraction and live connections. Now, understand this, that Tableau, while there are 7 or 8 different data sources which can be connected to Tableau, there are two primary ways in which the data can be connected. Connected in the sense, this connection over here, this is called a data connection. Now here, what happens is, there can be two forms of data connections. It can be an extract versus it can be a live connection. Now, first we'll understand the theory behind it, and then I'll explain it in practical. So data extract is nothing but when you import the data from a source into Tableau, creating a static snapshot of the data, which is exactly what we did. So what did we do in our case? We went to data, we chose a data source, then this sample superstore, we selected this Excel file, and from that we selected the sheet orders. So what did we do? We created an extract of this particular worksheet and put it into Tableau. Okay. Now this is like an extract. So it is a static snapshot of the data. If the data in the background changes, per se, right now this data has 999 rows. Let's say I go and manually update this sheet to have 2 extra rows, that will not reflect in my Tableau because this is an extract which I have created. I have connected the data set and I have told Tableau that, okay, just keep the snapshot based on the time when I made the connection. Okay. Now, when is an extract useful? An extract is very useful when you're working with a very big data set. When you want to create an offline kind of data set connected to Tableau, basically this helps in your performance of the tool because the data will not get refreshed in the background again and again. And which is why whenever you're creating your views, whenever you're opening the views, whenever you're creating new sheets, dashboards, the time for it to refresh is going to be negligible as compared to a live connection. So what happens in a live connection is, this is just talking about how do you create an extract. In a live connection, what happens is when you connect your data set to Tableau, you tell Tableau specifically that the data source is live. Now, a small caveat here, we are working with Tableau Public, and Tableau Public only allows you to create extracts, which is why whenever I dragged my data over here, it did not ask me that do you want a live connection or do you want an extract connection. It just simply created the extract and I started to work on it. But if you're working, let's say, on a Tableau desktop version or a Tableau server version, which are essentially the licensed product suite of Tableau, in that case, it will look like this. So can you see the screen? So this is a snapshot of how a Tableau desktop or a Tableau server will look like when you connect a data set. So here they have connected it to a server database. It looks like an SQL kind of a database. And from that, they're pulling this coffee store data set. And then it is here you can specify whether you want a live or an extract. Now remember, this feature is only present in the server or the desktop version. But because we are working on the public version, we will not have any such tab sitting here. So by default, whenever you're working with a Tableau public version, which is the freeware, Tableau will only let you create a extract and not a live connection. Okay? Irrespective of what you're connecting it to, even if you connect it to a Google Drive, let's say you create a Google Sheet and you connect it to Tableau, it will still create an extract. Okay? Now, when would you use a live connection? You would use a live connection when, of course, you want a real-time data refresh. Let's say you're working on transactional data, which is getting updated every second, and you want your dashboards to reflect that change or that every second updation of the data. That's the only time when you work with live connections. And also when you're working with highly sensitive data, because whenever you're creating an extract, Tableau is creating a virtual table in the backend and saving a snapshot of the data set. In a live connection, Tableau will not do it. It will connect to the data. It will hit the server every second, or based on the refresh time that you have set, it will hit the server at that point in time and keep refreshing the data. So there is no saving of the data by Tableau in the backend, which is why it's better for sensitive data. But then again, the problem is it makes your Tableau workbook very, very slow. And it's going to use up a lot of your RAM. And mainly it is something which is not advisable in general scenario because of the performance issue. I mean, what's the point of having a dashboard which will take 2 minutes to refresh? So for performance optimization, live connections are used in very, very rare cases. Mostly you're going to be working with extracts, which is exactly what we are doing in Tableau Public. Differentiation between data extraction and live connection. Of course, on performance basis, your data extraction is going to be faster. Data freshness for data extract, it will be a static snapshot unless you go and update it. Now, what do I mean by update? So let's do a small exercise here. So right now, my orders has 9994 rows, correct? Now I'll go to my sheet. Now, what I'll do is I will open up that file from the backend. So I have the sample superstore saved. I'm going to open up that file. You don't need to do this. I'm just showing it to you. I will create a duplicate row of this. So I just copied the last row and I pasted it again. So what this is doing for me? Now in my Excel, I have 995 rows of information. Okay. But when I created that connection in Tableau, the connection said that there were 994 rows. Now I have created an additional row in my Excel file. Okay. Now I will just say, okay, please go ahead and save this. That's okay. Okay. Now I go back to Tableau. I go to this data set listed here under the data pane. I do a right click on it. Just go on the data set and do a right click and say refresh. Now, if I go to a new sheet and I drag this count of orders, it is going to say 9995. So every time that you want to refresh your extract, this is how you'll have to do it. You will have to go to the data connection in the data pane, do a right click and say refresh. Then this data will get refreshed at that point in time, and whatever changes you have done in the backend, or if it's on a server, if there's an updation in the data set, it will start getting reflected in your Tableau as well. Okay. This is clear, the difference between extract and live, and if you have an extract, how do you refresh it? Are there any questions on this? Okay. All right. So what I'll suggest for you guys is maybe try this in the backend sometime, create some additional rows and see if the data refresh is actually working or not. Okay. Now I'll go back to that data set and change it back again because I don't want the final numbers to change, because then you will get a different number than me whenever we are creating the views. So I went back, deleted that additional row, saved it. Then I'll go back to Tableau again. And now again, I'll have to refresh it because there's another change I did. And the snapshot that I have right now in Tableau for that particular file says that there are 9995 rows. But I just deleted one. So I'll go do a right click on the data and say refresh. See, now it's clear. It's saying that the count of orders is 9994. Okay. I don't need this sheet. I don't need this data. So I will just go on worksheet. I will say clear sheet. So if, let's say you're creating something in your sheet and worksheet and you feel that this is not making any sense and you want to clear it, you don't have to select everything and delete it. Go to the worksheet tab over here in the menu. There's something called clear. Right now it is not active because there's nothing on my worksheet. and then you just delete everything from the sheet. Okay. Now we are going to talk about a topic called sort in Tableau. Now sort, we all understand what sort does for us, right? Sort is basically sorting the data in a particular order. So let me create a quick view and then I'll show you multiple kinds of sorts that you can do in Tableau. So I'm going to drag my row category into rows and I will drag my sales into my table. Go to show me and I'll choose a bar chart. Simple bar chart where I have my category in rows and sum of sales in my columns. Okay. Now there are two ways to sort this. I want to sort the field category. Now, if you see right now, it is sorted in alphabetical order, right? A to Z. There are two ways to sort it. If you hover over the name category over here in the worksheet, you will see a small sort button which appears. It's overlapping with the name, so probably it won't appear very clearly for you. But on your workbook, if you just hover over category, you'll see there's an A to Z tab which will appear. You click on that and you can choose multiple things. Okay, let's choose alphabetical. It was already in alphabetical order, so that's okay. Let me show you another one, which is manual. So I click on this. To do manual, I will have to click over here. So in the category, which is listed in the row shelf, if I click on the drop down, there's a sort button here. I'm going to choose that. Okay. When I do that, this kind of a dialog box will appear. Now I had said that sort it alphabetically. So the current sort is by alphabetical order in ascending or descending. If I do descending, it will do from Z to A. The sort order is ascending right now. So A to Z. Now I can also manually create a sorting order. So I click on this drop down next to alphabetic. There's a manual. I'll select manual and the three values that category takes will appear here: furniture, office supplies, technology. Now let's say I want the order to be furniture followed by technology followed by office supplies. So I will click on technology and these two buttons will become active now. So I want technology to be before office supplies. So I will just do move up. See, the chart over here is also getting updated side by side. Let's say I want technology at the very top. Either I can do a move up or I can do move to top. Okay. So this is a manual sorting order. So how do I do it? Click on category, go to sort, choose manual, and then select the order that you want using these four up-down keys which are available. Simple. Now, when would we use a manual sort? When, let's say, you have a custom order which your company wants you to follow. So let's say you have, for your company, they want to always list technology at the beginning, followed by furniture, and then office supplies. This is not an alphabetical order, but they want you to list it in this order because that's maybe something which makes their dashboards uniform. So in that case, this manual sort comes in handy. The other thing that you can do is sort this by, let me go and clear the sort. First I'll go here and I can also say clear sort. So when I do clear sort, it will go back to the data source. So in the data source, the original data source, furniture comes before office supplies. I mean, this is the order which is followed for category in the Excel file. So if I say remove all the sort which was there, it will go back to the data source order. Okay. Now let's say I want to sort it by the sum of sales. So I will click on category. choose sort, and I will say field. Okay. By default, it's always going to be ascending. You can choose descending if you want. You can choose a different field also from here. So let's say you want to do it by a different field, you can choose from here. But we want to sort it by the sum of sales in descending order. So I will choose field name sales, aggregation sum. I can choose a different aggregation also from here. So Tableau gives you a lot of control on the customization of how you want your view to be. Even in something so basic as a sort option, it's very, I mean, the customization can be very deep. So how did I do it? I was at data source order. I choose field because I want to sort category by the sum of sales in descending order. So I want the category which has the highest sum of sales to come at the top. So I choose field. In sort order, I'm choosing descending, field name sales, and in aggregation sum. All of these can be changed. Okay. And then I say, okay. So it is going in the same order. So my technology, which is the highest sum of sales, comes at top, followed by furniture, followed by office supplies. Simple. Okay, I'm going to call this sort by sum of sales. All right. There is also another one which I want to show you, which is called nested sorting. But for that, what I'll do is I will just duplicate this slide. I'm going to use the same data, but now I'm going to go and first clear the sort from here. I'll go to category, I'll say clear sort. I'll go back to the original raw view. Now next to category, I will drag subcategory. Okay. So the subcategory is, think of it like a hierarchical field under category. So under furniture, you have these subcategories, under office supplies, these, and under technology, these four. Okay. Now I want to sort this by sum of sales. So I'll go back to subcategory. I will say sort. I will say field. And I will say sum of sales descending. Okay, the same way because I want it sorted in the same order. Okay. So it is doing that for me. But let's say if I am going from the category. So I go to category. The same should happen if I do a sort on category. Like here, what did we do? We went on category and then we sorted it by sum of sales. What if I try the same on this sheet? I go to category, I choose sort, and I'll do the same. I'll choose field, descending, sum of sales. What happened here? So for technology, it is sorting in a particular order. For furniture, I don't see any sort. And for office supplies also, it's a weird sort. That is because right now, category has another field listed below it. So if I use the sort option on category and I just say by field sum of sales, it is going to only arrange it by the category. So I know that the sum of sales for technology is the maximum in all three. So it's only going to do that sorting. It doesn't care what's happening in subcategories. So now I will have to use a different sort option. Go to sort by and choose nested. Okay. Still not working. 1 second. Okay, hold on. I'll just recreate this view. Give me 1 second. Maybe because I've linked it to the original one, that's why this is happening. So I add my category, I add subcategory, I add sum of sales. Then we go to show me and we choose this. Then I go here, I go to sort and I say nested. Descending. Yeah. See, now it will work. So now, because I'm saying that subcategory is a nested field under the category. So because subcategory is listed after category in this row shelf, I'm telling it that this is a nested field within category in this work view. So then to sort it by sum of sales, I will have to say that use the nested one. If I use the sum of sales directly here in the field, then it will do the same random sorting within each of these categories. Okay. So this is the difference between nested and by field. So whenever you have multiple fields sitting here, let's say you have 2 or 3 different fields sitting here, and you want the sorting to be in sync inside each of these category levels. So you go to the field which is listed after category and you choose sort by nested, and then it will work. Okay. So I'm going to call it sort nested option. Give it a try on your own. This one, because this was linked, so it was not working properly. Give it a try on your own and it should work. If you guys are getting confused, let me know. I'll explain it once again. Okay. But understand, nested, I mean, just a small way to remember this. Whenever you're working with a single field, it doesn't matter whether you're using by field or by nested. But when you have multiple fields in your rows or columns, listed one after another, you will have to use sort by nested. Okay, then only the sorting will be in sync. Otherwise, it's going to be haphazard. Okay. All right.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am, you did this sort in subcategory, right?
Yes, sort in subcategory.
Yeah, right. Okay.
In this, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
It's working, right? Okay, give it a try and let me know if it doesn't work for any of you. We'll revisit it once again. Okay. Moving ahead, let's do another chart type today. So, sorry. So let's do another chart type. Let's do a scatter plot today. So when do we use a scatter plot? In generic sense, a scatter plot is an XY plot. So, okay, thanks, Esha. So scatter plot is an XY plot where you want to understand if there's any underlying relationship between the fields that you're plotting on your X and Y axis. So let's say I want to see if there is any correlation or independence between your profit and sales. So I'm going to drag my sum of profit here and I'm going to drag my sum of sales in columns. Okay. Just drag this to the top. Yeah. So right now it is giving me a single point. If I hover over it, it will give me the total sum of sales and the total sum of profit. Okay. For the entire data set. So 2.2 million is nothing but the total sum of sales and 286K is nothing but the total profit for the entire data set. Now I want to look at the relationship for multiple points because a single point will not really make sense to understand if there's a relationship between profit and sales. So let's say I will drag city and drop it on the table. I just take city and I drop it on the table. First, sales and profit in rows and columns. Drag city. When it says show me, just let go of the click. This is how a scatter plot looks like. So if I hover over this point right now, it is giving me an additional information. It is saying that for New York City, my total sales is 256K and my total profit is 62K. Similarly, for Los Angeles, my total profit is 30K and my total sales is almost 176K. And similarly, you have a separate point for each city. So basically, what it has done is for each city, it has taken the sum of sales and sum of profit and plotted it against this XY plot. That's your scatter plot. Now, what we can definitely say is there's a lot of concentration of points over here, and the generic trend for some points is that it has a positive relationship. If you focus on the points, if you focus on the points here, these 4 points definitely say that there's a positive relationship between your profit and sales. Okay, that's about the statistical aspect of it. We'll not go there. But okay, let's see how do we customize this chart. Go to automatic. I don't like these bubble bars. So I'll go to automatic over here and I will, let's say, choose a circle. Okay. So these are like nice round circles for me that I can nicely look at. Okay. One thing that you guys should notice, as soon as I dragged city into the chart, it did not appear in the rows or columns. It went to the marks card and it said, and it took this detail mark. Okay. Remember this when we're going to talk in detail today about these marks cards and how do you use them. Detail is a very nuanced kind of marks which is used in Tableau. Here what it is doing is it is breaking up the entire view by city. So it is adding another dimension to it. It is adding another aspect to the chart. If I did not have city here, you would have a single point. When I drag city into this is breaking up the view of sales by profit by city, right? But the city will not appear anywhere on the chart. It's not in your rows, it's not in your columns. In that case, it will always get listed under the detail because it is adding an additional aspect or an additional dimension to your chart. Okay. We'll explain this again when we are in detail. I just wanted to point this out to you. Okay. So this is a scatter plot. Another thing that you can do in a scatter plot is you can fit a trend line. Okay. So how do you fit a trend line on this? A trend line is nothing but a, let's say a approximate model which can get fitted based on their relationship. So how do you fit a trend line? Go to analysis on the menu bar. Click on it. There's an option called trend lines. And by default, only show trend lines will be active. Click on it. This is your trend line. So based on all the points in the between the sales and profit scatter plot, what Tableau is telling me is that there is a positive relationship between sales and profit. If you look at the equation of the line, it also fits a nice equation between profit and sales, a linear model. Have you guys had any statistics sessions before this? I mean, do you guys understand this concept of? Yes, linear regression, correct. So you understand what is happening here. So it's fitting a linear regression model between sales and profit. A very cool feature in Tableau is that you can basically fit it for certain points. So what did I do? So this is for the entire data. Okay, this trend line. Now let's say I want to only look at the trend for these many points. So this is a steeper model which is getting, this is a more stronger relationship between profit and sales coming up. How did I do it? I go to a starting point, a reference point. Then I click on my mouse, click, and I just drag it so that the area that I'm selecting has all the points that I want to look at together. So now you see only these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points are selected, and this is the trend line which is getting fitted. Give it a try. So maybe just start with these 4, start here, and just drag your mouse across a rectangular shape. And it will give you a new trend line only for those points which are active here. Okay, so that's another thing that you can do in Tableau. It's giving you a feature of interactivity. So let's say someone wants to understand that, okay, which are the ones for the top 4 or 5 uh, cities by, let's say, the sales volume. How is the relationship between sales and profit? So they will just simply select these 4 points and look at this trend line. Clear? Give it a try. If it doesn't work, let me know. I'll show it once again. Nothing, just you just start here and drag your mouse. Okay, so trend line, how do we add it? Go to analysis. There's an option called trend line. You choose on show trend line. Okay. So that's what I wanted to cover on the scatter plot. So scatter plot is a great chart when you want to look at relationships between two numeric fields, and then to break it up, you can use a dimension from here. All right. Now we are going to look at the marks cards. So I'm going to call this the scatter plot. We'll open up a new sheet and we'll start talking about the marks card. So let me add a nice chart now. Let's say, okay. So we have looked at a line chart, a bar chart. Let me create a line chart for you. So we'll add order date to my columns. Let's add order date to columns. Take it to the quarter maybe. Put your segment in, let's say, rows. And then maybe add your profit next to segment. So this is the first chart that we created today using a different, we used category and sum of sales here. Now a similar thing I'm trying to do, I'm trying to look at for each segment, how does the sum of profit look like if I look at it over time. Okay. All right. Now, if I hover over each of these points, it tells me that the profit is so and so for each point in time. But I don't want that. I want each of these points labeled. So I will drag, what do I want to label it with? I want to label it with the sum of profit because that's what I'm plotting. So I'll drag profit and drop it on label. Simple. Because so the purpose of adding the label was I want to see the profit for each of these points. I don't want to hover over them so that it becomes visible. I want it to be in my view itself. So I simply drag my profit and drop it on the table. Okay. All right. Now let's do some formatting on this. This number is appearing very big. So let's say I want to do a number format on this. So I will click on this small drop down next to sum of profit. There's a format button. We will choose it. And this kind of a format dialog box will appear. Go to default. You can change the font if you want. I just want to change the number format at this point. So I will click on numbers. I will say currency custom.
Hi, ma'am. Can you repeat this?
Yeah.
Sum of this profit
How
tracking over
yeah.
this line chart.
Till here, is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So now what I want to do is, if I hover over any of these points, I can see the total profit.
Yes.
But I want it to appear in the chart itself.
Yeah.
So I will drag profit and drop it on label.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Label, as the name suggests, it is going to label the point with the feature that I'm selecting. I have selected sum of profit and I want it labeled for everything.
Yeah, that's okay. But can you go a bit slower? Like,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So now I want to format this. Okay. I want it to, let's say, appear in thousands. It's appearing in the number with a .76. So the number is appearing very clumsy. So If I want to format these labels, I will have to go to the label here. This is the label tag for me. I'm going to click on the drop down next to the label and choose format. When I do that, this kind of a dialog box should come up for you. Okay. Now, what did I want to do? Let's say I want this number to appear as 5.3K dollars. This is not rupee, it's in dollars. This, let's say I wanted to say 8.2K dollars. So I want to change the number format. So I go to numbers over here at the top. Click on the drop down next to it. Initially, it will say automatic for you because I had already started working on it. So it's saying custom currency. Initially, it will say like this. Go to currency custom. Let's go to display units. I want it in thousands. Right now it is none, which is why it's giving me the raw number. Go to the drop down next to display units. Choose thousands. Why will I choose thousands here? Because these numbers, if I choose a millions or a billions here, it will not make sense. The number is really small. So thousands make the best sense for this kind of data for profits. So I'll choose thousands. See, now it is nicely saying 5.34K, exactly how I wanted it to look. 8.24K. Let's say, acha, and also dollar. Right now it says rupee. So I'll just select that rupee, delete it, choose dollar from your keyboard. You should have a dollar sign. For other currencies, so Tableau doesn't give you the option of choosing currency. Like in Excel, you have a drop down, right? From where you can choose euro, dollar, and things like that. In Tableau, you have to type it out. So a hack, let's say you're working with another data where you have to populate it with euro, just copy euro from somewhere, from some document and paste it here. Copy paste works here. So what did I do? I wanted to have a prefix dollar over here. So I go to prefix. For me, it was saying rupee because I think when I registered Tableau, it is registered to the Indian subcontinent. I will simply type out dollar from my keyboard here. Okay. Decimal places here. If you want to tweak it, let's say if you want a single decimal place, you can change it from here. Is this part clear? Okay. So it's nothing. It's just a simple number formatting. In Excel also, you do this very commonly, especially when you're working, let's say, with pivot tables or normal tables. You would want your numbers to appear in a certain format. And this is something similar that you're doing in Tableau. It's just about where do you find it. So understand first what you want to change. In this case, I wanted to change the number format of the labels. So that's why I'll go to the label tag here, click on it, choose format, and then change the number format from here. Okay. If I want to change the font, you have the font here. If I want to change the alignment, that's also available here. These we'll use for something else. So let's not get into it. Okay. So this is how you change your label format. Now, another thing, very interesting thing in Tableau. Let's label, I'm going to call it label marks. Okay, the reason I'm naming them like this is because whenever I refer back to them, I should know that what was the whole point of creating this sheet. I wanted to use this sheet to explain the label marks. Okay, the labels that I'm putting in my chart. Okay, let's do another small exercise. Okay, so let's say I add category, then I add sales. It's going to create a bar chart. Let me also add subcategory. Okay. So you have this nice view. Now, I also want these bars labeled now because otherwise I'll have to keep hovering over them. So I will drag my sales, drop it on label like we did for the last sheet. Okay. For some, it is not visible because of the standard view. If you go and choose entire view now, the labels for everything will be visible. Because of the screen resolution, sometimes what can happen is, yeah, this is also very important. I've seen this happen in a lot of classes. So for me right now, what's happening is for the first bar, which is furniture and bookcase, although I have put my label on, I can't really see it. For you, maybe more such labels are not working. The reason for that is the screen resolution may be really high. Okay. So in that case, what do we do? I still want to see the labels because that's the whole point of adding this here. So I'll go to this tab at the top. Yesterday we used this where I want to use the entire screen space. So I'll choose the drop down, choose entire view, and now it should appear for everything. If it still doesn't appear, then we'll have to go to the desktop settings and change your screen resolution. But understand that if you have a label present here and still for some charts it is not visible, it's nothing wrong with the Tableau or what you're doing in Tableau. The problem is with the screen resolution. Okay, small word of advice because a lot of times students get confused in this part. Okay, now I just realized that I don't want to plot the sum of sales. I want to look at the let's say average of sales. So for category and subcategory, I want these bars to reflect the average sales, not the sum of sales. So how do we change that? We go to the sum of sales in my columns, which is plotting these bars. Click on the drop down. Go to the measure and instead of sum, we choose average. We did this yesterday. So, okay, now my bars are nicely settled. So I see that the bars have changed. So now these bars are telling me that the average sales for category and subcategory. But my labels are still not changed. That is because in my label, I have not changed it. When I dragged my sales to label, it took sum of sales. Now I have changed the view to show me average sales. So the length of the bar is showing me average sales. But my label is still showing me sum of sales because that has not changed. So you need to change that from the label also. So if your column is saying average sales, your label should also say average sales. How do you change it? Click on the drop down. Same thing. There's going to be a measure sum. Choose measure average. This is very, very important, very crucial because I've seen this happen a lot of times that when students are, even people who work on Tableau, many a times they'll change it in the column shelf or in the row shelf. So the chart is showing one thing and the label will show something else. So always make sure that when you're labeling your charts, you should always align it with what the chart is showing. If it is showing average, the label should say average. If it is showing minimum, the label should say minimum. Remember this, otherwise you're going to just create haphazard numbers. Okay? Because Tableau in itself, it's a highly customizable tool. So it gives you an option to drag a particular field into columns. So the length of the bar is going to be determined by this. And then it also gives you an option to add a particular label. And there also you can customize what the number should say. Okay. So as a rule of law, as a thumb rule, whenever you're creating charts and you're using labels, make sure that whatever you have over here, the same thing should come here. The aggregation should always be the same. Okay. All right. Is this clear? Okay. One last customization on label that I want to cover is right now the label is visible for everything. But let's say I don't want it to be visible for everything. I only want it to show for the maximum and the minimum. So how do I do that? Now go to the label marks here. In the marks card, go to the label icon. Click on it. A different kind of a dialog box will come up. From here also you can change your format, by the way, of the label. Okay, so you have your how the text will appear, what the font will be, how will it be aligned, blah blah blah. Go to this part, marks to label. So right now all is selected. I wanted to only show the min and max, so I will choose min and max. Now what's happening? Look at your chart now on the side. For each category and subcategory, it is only labeling the minimum and the maximum average sales. Correct? I can also choose selected or highlighted, but that you can decide on your own. I just wanted you to point this out, this part to you. That sometimes what can happen is you don't want to label each point. This you might need to do when, let's say, you have too much data sitting on your sheet and you don't want to label everything, but you want labels only for some specific points. So Tableau gives you that option to customize. You go to label here. In the marks card, you have the label icon. Click on that and the option marks to label. By default, all will be selected. That means all points on your chart are going to have a label. I don't want that. I only want min and max. So now for each pane, a pane is basically for each category, and for each category, this is a pane. So for each pane, it is giving me the minimum and maximum average sales. For furniture, the minimum average sales is for furnishings, which is 96. And the maximum average sales is for tables, which is 649. Similarly, for the other two categories. You can play around with these options here and see how the view changes. But this is a pretty useful thing when, let's say, you're working with line charts. Because in line charts, maybe you don't want to, if you see this line chart, there are so many plots over here. I don't want so many plots. I only want the min and the max. So I'll go to label. I will choose min and max. And then I will choose, and this is happening for each pane. Correct? So your min and max, min and max. So just by looking at these labels, I can make out that for consumer segment, my profit in the first quarter was minimum, and in the last quarter, which is 2017 quarter 4, was maximum. But it differs for home office. For home office, my minimum profit was somewhere in 2015 quarter 1 and maximum was in 2017 quarter 4. So the labels now is making my readability, it's enhancing the readability of the chart. Okay. Okay. So 3 things we covered in label. First, how do you add a label? Then we covered how do you change the number format of it. You go to the format from here and then you change it. Next is how do you only ensure that certain points of your label are present. So you go to label from here. Instead of choosing all, you have different options here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to call it label marks 2. You can name it any way you want. Just make sure that whenever you're revisiting it, it should be it should make sense to you. Okay, now we are going to talk about the colors tab over here. Now colors is good. We can use colors in 2 ways. First, let me create a view and then we'll use the color marks. So I'm going to drag category to rows and subcategory next to it. I'm kind of keeping the same kind of views everywhere so that it's easier for you to compare them. Okay. Let's create a bar chart. Okay. Now this is a simple view which we have created before. Now I want my categories to have separate colors. So I want furniture to be color coded separately, office supplies to be color coded separately, technology to be color coded separately. So I will drag, so then I'm going to drag category to color. Okay. Because what did I want to do? I want a separate color coding for category furniture versus office supplies versus technology. It's making it more readable and as compared to the original view. Originally, everything was blue, so it was difficult for me to read it. Now, when I'm dragging category to color, because each category has a different color, each of them stand out nicely for me. Okay. Now let's customize these colors. Let's say I don't like the color palette. I don't like the blue, orange, and red color palette over here. So I want to change it. This is your color legend, which will appear on the right side. There's a small drop down next to it, next to the color legend. Click on that and choose edit colors. When you do that, a dialog box should come up with the colors over here. So furniture is blue and there's a color palette. You can choose a different color palette also from here. I'll stick to automatic for now. But let's say for furniture, I don't want it to be blue. I want it to be green. So how do I change it? I click on furniture and I choose green. Did you see the color will change? What did we do? So originally it was blue. It was like this. So I want to change the color for furniture from blue to green. So I will have to first select furniture here and then choose the color that I want, green. Now the legend is saying green. If I say okay, now it is reflecting in the chart also. So this is one way of using your color marks. So how is this color marks helping me? It is making it's helping me distinguish between each value of category. So furniture, just by looking at it, it's clear to me that, okay, furniture are the green tabs. Office supplies has the maximum number of subcategories and they are the orange ones. They don't have really high sales. The highest sales is coming for chairs in furniture and phones in technology. Had this been in blue, the readability aspect of that would be lower. So Tableau is all about making your views sharper and better. So this is one way of doing that. Now here I'm using a dimension in my color. So color marks, I'm going to call it color marks dimension because category is a dimension. I'm going to now use it in my in a measure. So I'm going to duplicate this sheet because I'm going to use the same view. So I do a right click on the worksheet and say duplicate. Okay. Now I don't want category in color. So I just want to remove it. Now, if you have something in this view that you don't want, you simply click on it and drag it out of the view. So this is a drag and drop feature of Tableau. If something is sitting in, let's say, in your marks card and you don't want it, you click on it and you drag it out. Okay. Now, what do I want to use my color for? I want to use a gradient coloring for my sum of sales. So I will take my sales and drop it on color. Give it a try. So what it is doing for me now? It is creating a gradient based on my sum of sales. This was the original blue where everything had the same shade of blue. Now I want a higher sales to be darker blue versus a lower sales to be a lighter blue. So a color gradient I want based on the value of sum of sales. So I will drag sales and drop it on color. That's happening. For chairs and for phones, it is the darkest of blue. And for fasteners, it is the lightest of blue. Okay. So I don't have to look at the length of the bars to make out which subcategory and category have the highest sales. Okay. Now, what I want to do is, let me also do a sorting on this. So I'll go sort this, choose the nested thing which we looked at earlier, and look at the view now. It's so much more clearer. I don't need a label anymore. I just by looking at this, it's clear that for furniture, chairs, and your technology phones, you have the highest sales. And for office space, storage has the highest sales. And you have a similar trend for your lowest sales as well. Okay. So what did I do? I used two aspects of customization. One, I use the sum of sales in color. Second, I use the sort option to make it very easy to read. I don't have to look at the length of the bar. I don't have to label anything. I don't even need to hover. Just by looking at this, I can have my insights ready in a second. Okay. Another thing that you can do is customize the colors here. So like we customize the colors here. So here in furniture, we change it from blue to green. Now I want to change this blue shading. So again, I have to edit colors. So I click here and I say edit colors. Okay. Now this is the dialog box. The dialog box for a measure is different than for a category. When we were changing the colors for furniture, it was blocks of colors. You remember? But because sales is a continuous field, it's a measure. So you'll always have a gradient. Okay. You can choose different options from here. Let's say I'm choosing an orange blue diverging. You can choose anything. What I want to show you here is this advanced option. Now, Tableau also gives you the option to choose your center point. Right now, if you see, your starting is the minimum value of sum of sales. And the ending is the maximum value of sum of sales. And center is somewhere the mean of them. Now, I don't want the center to be here. I want it to be, let's say, at 50K. So I can change it. Click on the center. When I click on the center button over here, this number gets active or editable. So originally your edit colors looks like this. Click on advanced. If I want to change my center point, I will click on center. Then the number becomes editable. I will select that number and I want the center to be at 50,000. I simply delete the existing center number that Tableau has decided based on the data. And I say that set the center at 50K. And I say apply. Did you see the color palette changed here? So originally, let's say I'm using red blue divergent. Originally, if you see your center point, which is the whitish tinge that's happening here, which is nothing but 166K. This is the value of it here at the midpoint. Now, because I'm editing the center to 50K and I say apply, see that whitish point went here. Because on a scale from 3,000 to 330K, my 50K will be somewhere here, not here. And I say okay, and my color gradient looks better. So again, I'm using color and I'm using the advanced feature to choose the center point now, where I want the divergence to start between red and blue. Okay. What I would suggest for you guys is create similar views using this data set. I think in your PPT, you will have some examples also. Try those out. Like for now, I'm using category, subcategory, sum of sales. Maybe you can play around. You can use segment and ship mode. And instead of sum of sales, use a different measure from here and try to create a color gradient and see how the change is happening. Whenever you're practicing, you don't have to do it right now, but whenever you're practicing, make it a habit to play around with the options which are available. That's the only way you're going to learn this tool. Okay. So, so up till this point, we have covered two marks. We've covered label. We've covered color. So color can be used in your dimension where every dimension, so every value of that particular dimension can be given a separate color. And when you use the color option for your measure, like in this case, sum of sales, it creates a nice gradient view for you. Okay. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about size. So we'll create one more scatter plot. Let's say I'm going to use the scatter plot between sales and profit, but for a different category. Okay. So I'm going to drag my sales in rows, profit here, and I'm going to use my product ID in the sheet. Sorry, I'll just reverse this out. Yeah, I like this view better. So I have my sales in columns, profit in rows, and I used product ID. In the earlier scatter plot, we used city. Now I'm using product ID. Just that's the difference. Instead of automatic, I like the filled blues. So I'm going to fill it up. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use the size option now. Now, let's say I want the size of these balls to also depict the sum of sales. So I will drag my sales and drop it now on size. So what happened? We had this view originally. Let me change it to full view. So we had this view originally where each dot depicts the profit versus sales for each product ID that I have. Now, but what we see is each of these dots are of same size. They are uniformly sized. Now I want to use the size specification to make the points with larger sales to stand out. So I will drag my sales and drop it on size. So what happened? This point has the biggest sales. Okay, that was pretty obvious. But just by looking at the points here, what we can make out is the points sitting here have smaller sales versus these. So now I'm using the size aspect of the marks card to make it more readable. I can change the size of these, the relative size of this as well. So I click on this. So anytime you want to change your size or your color, always go to the legend. This is your size legend. There's a drop down next to it. Click on edit sizes. By default, it says automatically. If I increase it, now see, the preview is only telling you that your 2 is going to be the same size, but 61,600 is going to be a really big number. So this is how it's going to look like. Because there are many points which are overlapping, so it's not looking really nice. But so we'll revert to the original sizing that Tableau had done for us. But now what we have done is we are using the size option to make the points with larger sales stand out. Okay. So if I look between these 2 points, this point is definitely larger than this point. So I know that although their profits are similar, the sales of this particular product number or product ID is higher, much, much higher. Okay. So this is my size marks. Now size marks are size as a way to distinguish between categories or between points is more useful when we do a packed bubble chart. We'll be doing something called a packed bubble chart. When we do that, there you'll see that it makes a real difference. Okay. And also this one, tree map. So we'll do both of these. When we do them, you'll understand. I just wanted to explain how the size marks works, which is why we've used this example. Okay. Now, what I want to also, now there are two other things in the marks cards. One is a detail and one is a tooltip. So let me first explore tooltip. Tooltip is nothing but when you hover over a point, what is visible? That's your tooltip. So if I hover over this point, it is giving me the product ID, the sum of profit, and the sum of sales. This small box which is appearing when I go to a particular point is called your tooltip. Okay. Now I can edit it. That's the whole point of putting it in the marks card. If I go and click on it, what did I do? On this sheet, I simply go and click on the tooltip. You'll see a dialog box come. Okay, let me increase the size of this. You'll see a dialog box. Okay, so let me explain what this means. So this is telling me that in the tooltip, whenever I'm hovering over something, it is going to display the output like this. It is going to tell me product ID. This is going to be static. And then for the selected point, it is going to show the product ID. Followed by profit, colon, then the sum of profit for that selected point. And similarly for sales. Now, as you keep adding things to the table, to the chart, this tooltip will keep getting updated. What you can also do here is you can add text. So let's say I want to say, let's say I want to call it distribution by product ID. Okay, I just want to add this small text to my product, to my tooltip. There's a preview button here. If you click on it, it will show how your tooltip is going to look like. So this is telling me that I added this static text, distribution by product ID. So that's going to appear at top. Then product ID, colon, the selected product ID, followed by its profit and sales. Just click OK. If I go over any point, see, this is how it's going to look like. So tooltip is nothing but the information which gets displayed when you hover over any point. And it is completely editable. You can add elements to it. You can delete elements from it. Okay. The detail part, we covered it here, right? So here, a detail, like I explained earlier, it adds a dimension to your chart. So earlier, when I just had sales and profit in my sheet, in the scatter plot, it was a single dot for the overall data. When I added product ID to the sheet, the product ID did not get plotted anywhere. There is no access for product ID. But that product ID got added as a additional detailing into the chart. So each of these points is one product ID. But because there is no space for it on the axis, so that is why such information gets added in detail. That's the explanation of detail marks card. It is not something very, I wouldn't call it to be like a very apparent kind of tool, card, but it has its own intrinsic uses. Like in a scatter plot, anything that you add will always go to detail. When we work on maps, you will see that it gets used very frequently. Okay. So now we understand each of these 5 marks cards, and we saw that how do we make them, how do we use them in various ways to make them more readable, to add additional value to your existing charts. So using labels, we formatted them, we only highlighted the min and max. Using the colors, we were able to highlight each category separately. We were able to create a nice color gradient. Using the size, we were able to figure out which point has the maximum sales without really going by the axis of it. Okay. And then tooltip is what gets displayed when you hover over a point, and detail is the additional detail of that particular sheet. So this is your marks card. Most of the time you will use 3-4 marks together. Like here in this sheet, I'm using size and detail together. Sometimes you'll use color, size, and detail together. You'll use maybe label, color, and detail together. So we'll play around with those as we go ahead. This part of it. So here right now, we are just covering the explanation of each of those and very basic applications of them. Okay. Is this clear, or is there any doubt on this, on any of these marks cards that you want me to cover again? Okay. All right. Okay. So today we have moved on to the second slide on your. I'm also keeping a tab of your PPTs. So in PPTs, today we have moved on to the second one. Yesterday we covered some of it. Today we are covering other elements of it. So the last thing that I wanted to cover for today is the formatting of tables and charts. Maybe I'll show you just for one because we have 15 minutes only. And because I think it's how is the pace for you guys? Are you following everything, or is it not clear? Or is it getting too much information? I know it's going to get a little bit of an information overload because there are so many things that you can do in Tableau. It's just insane the kind of customizations that you can do. But what I want for you guys is to at least keep a tab on what's happening in the class, keep notes of it, and at the end of the day, please go back and recreate those views for yourself and see if anywhere you're getting stuck. And then please reach out to me and tell me if you want me to repeat something. Otherwise, you're just going to lose track of the whole work. Okay. Any comments, or if you want me to repeat anything from today's or yesterday's class, let me know. Otherwise, I'll move on to formatting now. Okay, so I guess we are in a good space. Okay, so I'll format a table now for you. This I am doing so you understand how do you format, use different formatting options in Tableau. So I will, let's say, drag segment and ship mode. Then I will simply drag sum of sales here inside the table. Okay, a simple table. I have ship mode in column, segment in rows, and sum of sales in the values. Now I want to format this table. So I will, there's a format menu option sitting here. Click on that. Okay. Then you have choose workbook. No, sorry, choose font. Okay. If you anything you choose from here, no, this table will come up. So let's see what happens. This is the font option. So worksheet is everything which is there on the worksheet. Pane means what is there over here. Let me keep changing it so it's clearer for you. Let's say I only want to make the value sitting in this table as italics. So I'll go to pane. I'll choose italics and see only the pane values have become italics now. Okay. If I want to change the title, I'll go here. Let's say I don't want Tableau light. I want Tableau semi-bold. So that's here. In worksheet, everything else will get changed. So let's say I choose from here and I choose Tableau regular. And let me also change it to bold so it's clear. Okay. So worksheet is everything in this sheet except for the title. Pane is only the data sitting inside the table. Title is your title. Okay. You don't really have to know about each of these points because totals and grand totals we still haven't added. So focus on the ones which we know. And once you start getting introduced to these aspects, then you can start formatting them. It will be easier. Now, let me, because it's a table, you can also change the alignment. So here is your alignment option. You can change the alignment from here. So right now it is automatic. Let me change this view to entire view, otherwise it won't be clear. So let's say I do a middle. So see, using the pane alignment, I can change it. Similarly, I can do for header. Okay. The third thing that you can do in a table is add borders. So go to borders, and from cells, by default, you'll choose null. Choose this black, make it black. Your cells will start getting borders. It's slightly more complex than doing it in Excel. In Excel, it's much more easier, and I feel it's more intuitive. But in Tableau, you'll get a hang of it once you start playing with these options. So three things. What are the three things that you can do in Tableau in a table? You can change the font. So how do we go about it? First, you drag everything into the table, go to format, and choose anything from here. Just choose font. This dialog box will come up. See, this is for font. This is for alignment. Then you have table fill. This is shading. Usually it's not a great idea to choose shading, because then what happens is every row starts taking a different color. I mean, I never use shading in Tableau. By default, it gives me this banded kind of view, and I'm okay with that. Then you have your borders. The last is formatting lines. So these is only relevant when you have charts. So we'll not look at this here. So when you're working with a table, you can maybe format your font, change it to different fonts, change the size of it, make it bold, italics, underline. Then the next is changing the alignment of it. And last, adding borders to the table. Okay. Again, play around with the table and always change it to full view. Okay. Otherwise, sometimes what happens is, because the view is so scrunched up, no, you won't be able to see what changes are happening. This is like a secondary thing. You should know how to do formatting in Tableau, which is why I'm introducing this. But otherwise also, Tableau does a pretty decent job of formatting its tables automatically. I mean, it gives you a nice banded view. Everything is present. It has a nice row divider. You have nice dividers in the table also. Now, I will just show you for a chart as well. Let's say I add ship date to my columns, and I'm choosing month, and then I'm using sales here. Sorry, it went to size. Drag it to here. So this becomes my line chart. Okay. Now, here, let's say I want to edit the axis. So I will click on sales. I'll do a right click. If I want to, let's say, edit the sales axis, I'll do a right click on sales, choose format. Here you can change the font, the shading, blah, blah, blah. Let's say you want to change the way the numbers are appearing, because that's makes more sense. So you go here, you choose currency custom, and you choose maybe millions or thousands. See, now your axis is changing. Okay, no prefix. Okay. From here, you can change the title, the font of the title, which is sheet 11 right now. You can change it from here. Similarly, if I want to change it for month of ship date, I don't have to go to month of ship date, do a right click and then change it. You have this small fields button right here. You can click on it and choose month of ship date, and then change how the dates will appear. Okay. So that's how you format your axis. You right click on either of these axes and choose the format. And then you have your dates, its alignment, how the tick marks should appear and things like that. And you have the small fields button sitting right here, from which you can choose which axis to format. So you don't have to choose every axis separately and format them separately. One last thing in a axis is how do you change the title of the axis? So here it says month of ship date. I don't want it to say month of ship date. So I will right click again on month of ship date. I will choose edit axis here. There's an axis title. This kind of a dialog box will come up. Edit axis month of ship date, where you can choose your major and minor ticks. This is similar to how things happen in Excel. Here, title, I don't want it to say month of ship date. I just want to say shipping dates. So I'll select whatever title it had, change it and close it. It says shipping dates. So for format, do a right click and choose format. If you want to change the name of the axis, title of the axis, do a right click, choose edit axis, and then in the axis title, you can select this and put in your user defined names. You can also define how your axis should look like. Ideally, stick to the automatic range because again, it's a better way of looking at your data. But there will be cases where we will change this and I'll show you how to do that. Okay. So these are the things that we wanted to cover for formatting. Okay. Edit axis, yes. All right. There is a couple of more things, but let's park those for tomorrow. There's something called title and captions in the worksheet and annotations. There are 3 additional things which we can add to a worksheet, but we'll do that in the next session. And that should cover most of the things that we want to do in a worksheet. And then we'll move on to intermediate charts. Okay, now I want to show you how do you save your workbook. So because we are working on Tableau Public, it is essential that you keep saving your workbook every time. Otherwise, Tableau Public is pretty famous. I mean, it's very popular for being very glitchy. So if you don't keep saving your work every time, it will give you some error and then you'll not be able to save it. So at the end of the day, what you should do is go to File, select Save to Tableau Public As. And because this is a freeware, every time you save it, it is going to get saved on the cloud. That's the only way the Tableau Public will work. So I'm going to put it my credentials that I use on Tableau. So yesterday when we did the installation, I asked you guys to create a account with your email ID and verify that account. So here you will have to put in the credentials for that. The password would be the password that you have set up with Tableau. And then you just click on sign in. Give it a couple of seconds. Then it is going to ask you save Tableau workbook to Tableau Public. What title do you want to give it? Let's say we call it classwork. If you want to create a separate workbook for every class, you can do that. Just say save. It is publishing all of your views. So it is going to publish the data set as well as all the views that you have created, which is why Tableau Public is not the best tool when you're working with confidential data or enterprise level data. But for our work, because we are working with a public data set, it's fine. Okay. So as soon as I saved this workbook, now that Tableau workbook is called Tableau Public Classwork, and it published it on the web. And when it did that, it will open this kind of a web page for you. So here it is saying classwork by Sharbani Ghosh and the sheets. It has all the sheets, by the way. By default, it will show you a single sheet. If you want to see all the sheets, this is Tableau Cloud, by the way. You click on settings and you say show sheets. Okay. And you give it a couple of seconds and see all of the sheets that we created today are going to be here. So this is very useful if you want to collaborate with someone else who wants to look at your views. You can simply copy this URL and give it to them, and they will be able to access it. They don't need any credentials for it. All right. You can also download this from here. So you can download Tableau workbook and you will have the downloaded version of it. All right. So make sure that at the end of the day, you're saving your work. Otherwise, you'll have to keep recreating it. And that's about it. So that is the end of the classwork for today. I would request you guys to please go back home and practice the things that we have covered till now, especially the marks cards, because you are going to get confused when you work on it. Formatting is secondary at this point in time. The last two things which we covered, format table and format the charts. But the marks cards is going to get used very, very deeply in the next sessions, and also the sort thing which we worked on. We have covered 90% of what was there in Tableau deck 1. There is one additional topic here, which is blends and joins, which is an advanced topic in Tableau. So I'm going to cover it in a later session. I don't want you guys to get confused with that. Tableau day 2, we have covered most of it except for filters. So that I'll start off with on the next class. So if you want to work with the decks also, refer to deck 1 and deck 2 for these two sessions. Okay, that's what I had. Anyone wants to share anything or have any doubts? We can stick around for a couple of minutes or we can close the session. Okay, so no comments, no feedback. No doubts from my end. Thank you, Karthik. All right. So great then. I'll see you guys on Saturday. Have a good time and please keep practicing. Thank you so much. Bye bye.